Hi everyone, welcome to the Nerds of Combat podcast. Today I'm here joined by Admin Magic,
Yep.
Admin Loki,
Hey, what's up, everybody?
and of course I'm Admin Thor. And today we're talking about Star Wars because the Mandalorian season episode dropped. But we're not going to be talking about that because some of us haven't watched it yet. But we're just going to be talking about Star Wars as a whole. So I think the first thing we need to target first with Star Wars is the current state of it, because obviously we have 9 main films, two tie-in films, and a bunch of series going on, including another movie in the works with Taika Waititi and stuff. So, how does everyone feel about the Skywalker Saga that Star Wars is focused around and how it ended?
Who wants to go first?
Imagine you can take it. Yeah, you can take it first. You can take it first, and I'll just add on to the notes. I have a lot of opinions.
Skywalker Saga. Oh God, yeah, Skywalker Saga. Started okay, continued great, then ended eh. that's about the gist of it. Star Wars episodes 1 and 2. They're bad. Episode 3 is the best one out of the trilogy, at least in the prequel trilogy. The sequel trilogy is classic Star Wars. That's what got everybody onto Star Wars in the first place. Everybody has rose-colored nostalgia glasses with that one, even though the effects were bad. But since it pretty much started not only the sci-fi genre, but pretty much everything that's happening since then. It kind of gets a pass. And then the sequel trilogy. Oh boy. The character assassination of certain characters, the ass pulls, oh god. And then just like the thing that makes it even worse is the fact that Daisy Ridley, of course the actress that plays Rey, revealed in an interview that it was pretty much a movie by movie basis of what they were going to do. It wasn't even like they had a plan, even though George Lucas literally handed you scripts that say, "Here, I have an idea for 7, 8, and 9." Iger was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, we're just gonna throw those out real quick, and we're gonna just Disneyfy everything." And you failed horribly. So I'm glad Kathleen Kennedy. I'm not glad that she's about to lose her job, but I am glad that it's going in a different direction.
Yeah.
So that's just, yeah. I'll get into specifics after y'all finish.
Yeah, I was not a big fan of the last trilogy that just came out. The Star Wars, The Force Awakens, really, the title alone. I remember watching the teaser trailer for it and then seeing the title reveal, and I was so excited. We got this new cast of new actors. We had this new storyline, new characters. I figured some of the old nostalgic stuff would return, especially when we saw R2 and 3PO and stuff like that. And of course, when Han and Chewie returned on the Millennium Falcon, you're like, oh, all right, this is awesome. And then I felt like the 7th movie was executed okay. It was the first time we got to see someone break the stormtrooper training, which was extremely great. We got to kind of see a menacing effect of Kylo Ren, and then it's like they just left the plot. And I know that there was a different director in the 8th film, but like at the end of the 7th movie, when you see Luke Skywalker, and as Magic said, it's nostalgia when it comes to the original trilogy that came out, starting with New Hope. Seeing Luke Skywalker, he's the last Jedi that we all know about, for sure, if we're only watching the movies. And then the 8th movie starts up, and he's like, oh, I don't want it. And I'm like, what? Like, what is going on here? And in an interview with Mark Hamill, who, as we all know, plays Luke Skywalker, he said, I feel like I was playing Jake Skywalker. It didn't feel like my Luke. And it just, I was like, okay, well, we can still save it with Rey and Poe and Finn. And then they give Finn a love interest out of nowhere, Rose. And I'm like, okay, this is feeling rushed, but like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then the ninth movie comes out, and it forgot what it was doing again, it's like they were making the story up as they went. And I understand different directors and different writers and so on and so forth, but like, you all have to agree that we started something. We can't just. This is what Star Wars looked like. 7, 8, 9. It was all over the place. The casino scene in the eighth movie was way too much. Like that should have been like a 20-minute segment. I think they had a good idea with where they were going. The effects were really great. We cannot deny that the effects were great. It was great to hear some of the nostalgic voices when Rey, fought Palps and first picked up her or Luke's lightsaber and stuff like that. Hearing the old Ben Kenobi, even Clone Wars Kenobi, that was really fun. And overall, I think they've got a good footing with Jon Favreau now really helping out the Star Wars universe. As we all know, he really helped out the MCU universe as well, as he directed the first Iron Man movie. He's a huge nerd. He's clearly showing he knows what he's doing. I think Star Wars has a chance to be good, but it's time to leave Skywalkers. We got to get away from all that. We've got to go somewhere else. We either need to go Old Republic with Revan and Bane, or we need to go somewhere completely new. And we got us. It has to end somewhere. You know what I mean? But overall, I think the last trilogy that just happened, I think it failed. Especially bringing back Palpatine again. Like, come on, dude. Like, this was ridiculous. You had a great chance to make Rey this be a character without making her Palpatine's granddaughter, because now everyone has the image in their head Palpatine got it on with somebody. And so, like, you're like, ugh. But all right, cool, whatever, I guess. So I don't know.
Even though that's technically not the case, because but no, I'm sorry.
No, you're right. Yeah, but you're right. But
see, the issue I have with the sequel trilogy is there is just some issues with, of course, writing, right? If we go by, like, the movie by movie basis, right, and just look at them as individual movies, Force Awakens did pretty well at the start, and then near the third act, it got a wee bit iffy, right? And then Last Jedi had some good moments, but Rian Johnson doesn't know how to write stuff specifically around characters, because Rey's character was set up to be this, interesting thing where it's just like, we don't know who her parents are, and they made that clear in Force Awakens that this is meant to be a big plot point, right?
yeah,
And I understand what Rian Johnson was trying to do with saying, oh, it doesn't matter whose Rey parents are, she's Rey, right? It's meant to be anyone can become a Jedi, right? But we already had that kind of statement with Finn, right? We didn't need, like, something with Rey's parents being nobodies. We had Finn. It was already hinted at that he was going to be something. Hell, I even thought he was going to be the main character in Force Awakens, because I only saw the posters of him wielding the lightsaber. And I was like, yes, he looks really cool, can't wait. Of course, that didn't happen, which is I think is a terrible issue. And then I think it's the third act. Well, sorry, midway through the second act, third act of Last Jedi, just horrendous. Casino scene, terrible, and then everything to do with the end, just atrocious. With Finn's character, since they didn't make him the main character and a side character, he should have died at the end of Last Jedi, because that would have been a big heroic sacrifice. It would have meant a lot. It would have, like, completed his character. Luke Skywalker wouldn't have to be character assassinated near the end and actually die at the end of Last Jedi. And then, of course, after Last Jedi, everyone had a lot of issues. And then Rise of Skywalker just wasn't a Star Wars movie. It was, let's calm down the flames that came from Last Jedi. Everyone hated it. Let's just, crowd control, chuck everything. Here's some fan shit. And then, of course, all the fan shit got immediately ruined. And, literally, the best scene in that entire movie is when the whole fleet comes in. It's meant to be this big heroic moment, and I'm just like, yeah, giant Starfleet. And then Palpatine nukes it in, like, the space of 2 seconds, literally after showing it all. It's fucking terrible. Like, why? It was such an epic moment. It's just, like...
No, and then they try to have the Avengers Endgame at the end.
yeah. Like, has anyone seen the edit where, like, they actually put the Force Ghost in with Rey during that scene? That looks so cool. It was so much better than just hearing voices. But no, it was just... like, Rise of Skywalker was crowd control, didn't feel like a good ending. and just the sequel trilogy as a whole just felt super incomplete after Force Awakens. Um,
Yeah, like
It,
like y'all said, it was just, like we had a good beginning with the Force Awakens. Like I said, even if you wanted to call it a New Hope copy, I mean, what better way to start than a New Hope copy? Just and go, and then you can just continue it, go from there. But it's just like, yeah, once they made Luke Skywalker throw this lightsaber behind him, it was all downhill from there. Because it was just like, yep, forget everything that you thought about Star Wars. This ain't shit now. So
yeah.
okay.
having them drink
Yeah.
alien titty milk and
The blue milk.
That's one thing, and like they even tried in the last Jedi to make us feel pity for Luke, and like this is why he's this way, and I'm like, why is Luke just standing over his nephew's bed staring at him? Like, that's creepy. Like, I'd pick up my lightsaber too and try to attack somebody. Like, that's creepy, man. Like, what is this?
and then it's just like Luke Skywalker when he was in his 20s or a teenager stared down two of the most powerful Sith members in the history of Star Wars and said, "Nah, I'm gonna be a Jedi like my father was." And you just telling me now, "Oh my God, there's something dark in Ben. Let me go kill him now." Like, no, like,
Especially
no, that doesn't.
like I think the most dumb thing about that as well, right, is instead of going the route of the comics of Luke Skywalker making him like the super master Jedi that's super powerful, he was more like sage-like and more, I'm not going to fight anymore. I'm just going to keep to myself. I read all the Jedi text and stuff, and he still went to kill a child. Like,
Yeah. So, like his father before him.
Like his father.
and
He said he wanted to be a Jedi. That's what you gotta do.
like you can't even say, right, that he didn't care about the Jedi shit anymore, because what was the first thing he said when that tree lit up in flames? Oh no, the
It was like-
Jedi text.
Yeah, the ancient text, and
Yeah.
Yoda's like, "Ha, I got Force lightning as a ghost." It's like, oh, all right, Yoda.
Like, he clearly cares, and it was just complete
Right.
character assassination.
You know what kills me
It's just
is in
like-
Star Wars, every planet-busting weapon is this gigantic moon, right? Or it's like this gigantic bomb that's going to end everything. But here we go, in the Rise of Skywalker, and Palpatine's got hundreds of Star Destroyers with a little gun that can destroy planets. And I'm like, where was this at? Like, this is not a big time difference between the last time you were in power. Like, why are you have moon-sized things with gigantic vent openings? Like, put some some plywood on it or something. But like, now you telling me you found a way to shrink all that into a little bitty gun that you put on the bottom of it? Like, get out of here. Like, even Lando knew that was silly. Like, that's Star Wars, dude. I don't like that Star Wars sequel trilogy because it changes up the plot elements. I wish that like Jar Jar Binks would have came back as a Sith Lord and like, haha, I really was a Sith Lord. And, like, he was the bad guy, and that makes more sense than Luke Skywalker throwing his lightsaber into the water. You know what I mean? And then, like, not to mention like the ghost. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like, or you could bring in Absaloth or the Uzon Vong or
Free Vizsla.
I really want an Absaloth. I really want an Absaloth.
Anyone from Legends?
Yeah, anybody from Legends. Mara Jade. Mara Jade would have actually been great, actually.
Admiral Thrawn.
Even if you didn't want to continue. Exactly. It's just like, it's just, oh my God, it's too much. Too much.
Yeah.
And
So,
that-
yeah, before I get pissed off all over again, move on to, go ahead.
And it's clear that Palpatine has a clear weakness, and that is lightsaber and Force lightning connection. Like, that obviously hurts him. And then Rey's like, I figured out how to beat him. We're going to use 2 lightsabers and cross him, and that's how you win. It's like, Palpatine, stop using lightning hands. It's obviously not doing nothing for you. It's messed you up in the prequel, it's messed you up in the original, and now it's killing you in the sequel trilogy. Like, you got to get it under control. And like, not to mention, like, the Force ghosts of the Jedi clearly show that they can move things in real life. Why didn't they go with Rey to take on Palpatine? Like, how awesome would that have been to see all these Force ghosts coming back and fighting instead of just letting Rey and Ben Kenobi, who apparently can now open space time and hand each other things across the way, like because you're a diadem. I'm like, a what? Okay,
Force
what?
diet.
Yeah, and I'm just like, because she's like, here, you're getting beat up by the Knights of You, so let me just hand you my lightsaber behind my back, and now you have it. Oh, it's like, what? What is this? I let a lot of things slide, but like shrinking the planet destroying
But
weapon to fit on the bottom of a star destroyer, and then now handing things like you all of a sudden Doctor Strange to people, like, come on, like.
but but I'll let that slide because once you start introducing time travel in Rebels, then everything is out. Everything is fair game now because
Sure.
a man he literally pulled Ahsoka from the exact moment in time of where she's fighting Vader 2 years prior. It pulled her out, and then she went 2 years into the future into that same area. Yeah, everything's fair game. At least in that instance of the whole fourth dyad, and oh yeah, here's a lightsaber behind my back, even though he's surrounded by all of the Knights of Ren, and somebody should have seen that coming. But hey, whatever. It's cool. It's Star Wars. It's the Force is magic. Hey, it's all good. We'll work with it.
So,
You know, one thing that upsets me about the Knights of Ren was that it was clear in the guidebook for Star Wars that the Knights of Ren were other Padawans at Luke's temple
Mhm.
during his schooling. So why aren't the Knights of Ren using Force abilities? Why don't they have sabers or saber-like weapons? Like, why are they just taking on bounty hunters? That's exactly what it was to me. It's like, oh, there's a whole bunch of bounty hunters grouped up and attacking them. Star Wars Power Rangers, here we go. Like, ridiculous.
We had crowd control.
yeah, it was just all crowd control. And like, what do you call it? They try to like expand upon the Knights of Ren in the comics and all that jazz. But also in the comics, they're expanding Snoke as some like individual character and not just a clone.
A failed clone of Palpatine, nonetheless.
So
Like,
it's like all of the stuff in the comics that was leading up to like Rise of Skywalker or like Last Jedi and stuff was all in depth, and then Ryan Johnson didn't really care. He just did his own thing. He ran before he could walk, and that's why it fucked up basically. And then, you know, fucking J.J. Abrams just didn't know what Star Wars was. To be honest, he just saw a lightsaber and was like, "Yeah, let's give that girl two of them." And
he's like
The
fan fantasy.
like, how do
really
you almost
did.
kill a franchise in one movie?
I know. And then like, it's just there's so much idiotic like, it's just really dumb. Anyway, let's look on the greener pastures from that.
Can I add one more thing that ruined Star Wars, the sequel trilogy for me? This is the one thing that ruined it all for me.
Okay.
When Luke finally dies, right, and his cloak drops, I was furious that I didn't hear the clinking of his metal hand. Like, I was really furious that I didn't hear his metal hand hit the rock. Like, I was like, we know they don't take that in the afterlife. Where was the clink? I'm done. You can't even get the clink right? I'm done. Hand lightsabers through space time. I don't care.
Okay, let's look on the greener pastures, right? And then let's talk about the good times of Star Wars, aka when Dave Filoni was doing Clone Wars. So Clone Wars started with like really good development, and its plan was to end on like how other Jedi would perceive like other perceptions of Order 66, and introducing a new character and all this jazz. So how does everyone feel how Clone Wars started, and did it succeed in like doing what it wanted to do with introducing a new character, making more interesting characters, giving more depth to the clones, and just like how Order 66 played out amongst like everything going on?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Yeah.
I'll take this one first. I think Clone Wars did exceptional. I watched the first Clone Wars that came out in the 2000s, that weird animated version, and then they came out with the next version that started with the movie. I think the addition of Ahsoka Tano was great. Giving Anakin a Padawan was kind of cool to me. I really did love how much they put on the clone troopers. Even though they're clones, but they all have their own individual personality, and that was great. I loved that we got to bond well with them. I love seeing other Jedi's in action because, like, don't get me wrong, Vader and Maul and Palpatine, and that's all cool. We've seen them fight. Let's see these other ones fight. The ones that we saw getting gunned down in the movie that we didn't get to see, like everything else. I thought it was great to expand more on it. I think the Clone Wars started off great. I think in the middle, it hit a rough patch, especially when they were bringing back Maul. Don't get me wrong, the addition of Maul being back was great, but I just think that they struggled with it. But I think overall, as it ended, I think it did great, and I think it opened up Rebels to be amazing, to be what it is. I loved how not every villain was a lightsaber wielding dark user. You know what I mean? You got the hunters, you got the Mandalorians showing up, you've got bounty hunters showing up for no reason. You've got people mixed up with spice trades. You get to see Obi-Wan Kenobi have a love interest and like see like how that all played out, and you get to see the hate boner Maul has for Obi-Wan. That was pretty cool. And then not to mention, I think that was Rebels anyway, so we won't talk about that because I love Maul's final conclusion with Obi-Wan. But I think Star Wars Clone Wars did great. I think that given the individual personality to the clone troopers is what actually inspired Finn's creation into an existence in the writing, to have him be the first to break away from a stormtrooper training, because they're taken away like 8 years old, right? That's what they say, like 5 or 8, or as children, and that they've been brainwashed. So for him to be able to break that brainwash and physically watch him in pain break the brainwashing of being a stormtrooper, that was brilliant. And I think that was inspired by Clone Wars, to be honest with you. I think Clone Wars did exceptionally great. I think it's one of the best Star Wars series we have. To be honest with you.
Yeah, Clone Wars is my favorite series, outside of movies and video games. Like as you said, like the introduction of Anakin having a Padawan, is one of the saddest and most brilliant things you could have done to Anakin. Because it makes the Clone Wars makes Anakin better. Like, because in episodes 1 and 2. We'll forgive him. He's a child. Child actors may or may not be able to interpret things correctly. Sorry, Jake Lloyd, to all of those that have made you pretty much insane. I do apologize. I apologize to all Star Wars fans for that, because they have extremely high standards. Episode 2, Hayden Christensen was okay. He really did his thing in 3, but like the Clone Wars movie was not great. So the Clone Wars, the cartoon TV series, expanded on everyone. And as Loki was saying, gave the clones more personality. Anakin having a Padawan expanded that story, expanded Obi-Wan. Really, like the Clone Wars really lets you see how blind the Jedi were. Like,
yes.
Like almost to the point to where it's almost insanity how you don't see this stuff coming, and I'll get to this in a little bit later, of why I officially hate every Jedi except for Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka, and maybe Plo Koon, and Kit
I was gonna say, you can't hate Plo.
Wow, you went straight for like, you hate Mace Windu, well, I mean, like, Mace Windu makes sense, because he's a fucking, like, with the shit that he did in Clone Wars, yeah. So many others.
That's like,
Magic Order 66 them out of his mind.
Yeah.
like season 6 really almost cost Clone Wars for me, because like Yoda literally sees everything. He sees Palpatine is literally telling him word for word, I will make Anakin betray everyone if you don't kill him now. Yoda's like, oh, well, I'm going to still stop you. Then Qui-Gon, this is what's going to happen, literally panel by panel. Oh, well, I'm not going to be I'm still not going to do anything. The sisters, hey, this is Anakin is Darth Vader, and he's about to fight his son, and you have the possibility to change this. No, I'm still going to just let the Jedi Order fall because Star Wars is magic, and this is what it's supposed to be. No, you. Yeah,
I think this question was triggering for Magic.
I think
season. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think like where the I think where the issues lie with Clone Wars' writing style when it comes to that is they're locked in a fixed point. Like they can't just change like what happened in episode 3, 4, 5, and 6. So they have to write it well and do it to make sense. But also at the same time, like what was it? Isn't it season 7 that was the one that came out really late, wasn't it? Or was it season 8?
Yeah. No, season 7. Yeah, season 7 was the last season.
In season 7, like, Obi-Wan's getting told what's going on. Ahsoka literally warns what's happening and all this shit, and just nothing happens. Like, it's really infuriating, right? Because why would you write the Jedi? Go ahead, Magic.
Like, no, sorry to interrupt. It's like literally, like, Obi-Wan tells about Count Dooku being dead, and then it's like, they go into the meeting, and then you see the scene with Mace Windu saying, I think something's about to happen to the Jedi. And Ahsoka is literally coming in the next scene, and it's like, they're talking about it, and then Mace Windu's like, oh, I'm sorry, citizen, this is Jedi business. But Yoda is like, hey, is there anything that you want to say? And there's like a pause, like a literal pause, where Ahsoka could be like, yeah, I think something's happening with Anakin. I think you may want to pull him out. But then she's like, nah, I'll tell Anakin in person. No!
Anakin does not do well with bad or negative news, okay? He gets told that his mom was murdered. What does he go do? He goes and butchers an entire village, okay? Like, Anakin needs therapy, okay? Like, it is clear that when you manipulate midichlorians to create life, you create the Karen of Jedis, okay? And that's what Anakin Skywalker is, okay? If he doesn't get his way, he's like, screw it, I'm gonna go break the rules, I don't care. Ahsoka, do what I do, but don't do what I do. It's like, wait, what? Like, because Ahsoka calls him out on that all the time in the series. That's one thing I love, is like, he says, do as I say, and she's like, you don't even do as the council says, and he's like, that's different. And she's like, well, no, wait a minute, bro. Wait a minute, homeboy. You just told me. It's like, Anakin is that guy who says, do as I say, not as I do. Because he knows what he does is wrong. It's clear.
And Ahsoka follows the same mantra.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
yes.
Which is why she's my second favorite character behind, of course, Anakin, Darth Vader.
I'm brain farting, but the new Jedi kid in Rebels, he has the cool lightsaber with it's like a blaster and a saber. What's his name? Ezra. Yeah.
I was about to say Ezra Miller.
That's what I thought you said. I was like,
Bridger.
the Flash.
There we go.
Because like even when she's training with him and stuff like that, he's like, well, why can't I do that? And she's like, because you don't need to do that. And it's like, Ahsoka, you just told him, do as I say, not as I do. That's exactly what you just said by saying that. Just because you didn't say them words doesn't mean you didn't say them words, all right? Like, obviously, Ahsoka needs another trainer. You know, she needs to go through Padawan school again because she's going to be like Darth Vader-esque.
You can't die by Dave Filoni.
Yeah, so we'll get into that in a second with the Dave Filoni stuff and how like Ahsoka is, right? But no, like, well, Clone Wars, like, it started off strong, like Magic said, midway through it got crap, and then at the end, it was just like, how to put it, it felt kind of rushed at the end, because, like, there was some stuff that didn't make sense, especially when you consider, like, Rebels was completed at the time, so they were, like, there was stuff that was said in Rebels that then Season 7 retroactively changed. The biggest one I can think of is Rex saying, oh, I went against Order 66, I didn't try to kill any Jedi, blah, 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 blah. You know, I removed my inhibitor chip. And then you see it in Season 7, he tries to kill Ahsoka, and Ahsoka forcibly removes the inhibitor chip. And it's just like, why did you say that if that isn't just what happened? Dave Filoni is the one writing it. Why did he write it like that? Like, he had, like, the foresense of, yeah, this is what Rex said he did, so that's what he should be doing. And then he's like, no, that isn't what he did. No, never mind. Ahsoka, she's, Jedi Jesus, change that shit. She can't die. Like, that's literally what Ahsoka is, right? You watch any of the Dave Filoni stuff, right? She can't die. She does nothing but good. She talks shit to the Jedi. Like, Dave Filoni clearly has issues with a lot of the time. And then, the other thing with it as well, right? Dave Filoni's basically writing the Ahsoka trilogy, right? Instead of the Skywalker Saga, there's going to be the Ahsoka Saga. We go from fucking Clone Wars to Rebels to Mandalorian, because she's coming into Mandalorian, and then God
Yep.
knows what else. Like, no, but Clone Wars...
And sorry to interrupt. The only thing that I did hate was that season 7 was pretty much from Ahsoka's perspective, especially the last 2 episodes. I wanted to see a mix of episode 3 and Clone Wars at the same time. I know technically episode 3 is supposed to be whatever the whole Order 66 and everything from Anakin's perspective, but I would have loved to see it like a mix of, especially when you did the whole scene of her sensing Anakin turning.
Yeah.
Like, that should have been where you could have saw everything going on, because in episode 3, every Jedi is sensing every Jedi getting messed up or dying or getting killed. Especially, so she should have felt not only Anakin, but Plo Koon, Yoda, May. Well, she did, of course, sense Mace, but they should have played that scene out as well. But go ahead, continue on.
See, with like the Order 66 stuff, like they played it out okay because it was Ahsoka's perspective, right? Of course, there was the issues of what I was saying with Rex and stuff, but like I think like when it came to the end, it just sort of felt meh. Like I understand that Dave Filoni wants to focus on his Jedi Jesus a lot, right? But like, has anyone seen the fucking edit where it was literally all the Order, like all the Jedi surviving? Well, not surviving Order 66, like all the Jedi perspectives that we ever saw in all the mediums, all perceiving Order 66. It has Clone Wars edited in. It's got what do you call it? Episode 3. It's got the new game out, and I'm pretty sure there was some other stuff that they edited in as well, just merging in. And that felt far better watching that, like, I don't know, 4-minute video than what they tried to do with Ahsoka sensing, like, well, not sensing, but, figured out something was up. Like, it was just, ugh. And the only payout to, like, the end of season 7 wasn't seeing where Ahsoka goes during, her time learning to be more Jedi Jesus for Rebels. We just see, really cool looking Darth Vader. Like, that's it. Like, I enjoyed the way it ended, and I think it succeeded in what it was doing, but, like, dear God, some of the issues, like, that just arose from, like, season 7, especially since we're getting a Bad Batch series coming out, and I didn't think the Bad Batch were all that interesting.
Yeah. I feel like they're just trying to expand diversity within the Star Wars universe, trying to get away from Jedis and stuff like that, and like, look at all this other cool stuff over here, and we're like, we don't care. Stop.
Which I have no problem with. which I have no problem. Like, the Mandalorian is great. Like, the Mandalorian is all. In fact, I would love to see just like a whole thing on the Mandalorians alone. And we'll get into the Old Republic later. But the Mandalorians is great. I don't mind if you're getting away from the Jedi and the Sith and the Force or whatever the case may be. Expand Star Wars. It needs to be expanded upon. But nobody cares about the Bad Batch. Nobody cares. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like we already missed Rex and all of them. Nobody cares about this group of rejects that had a few good missions and then it's time to go now. Like, nobody cares.
Besides, I would much rather just have the 501 show, the 501st. Yeah, I'd rather just have. Yeah, I just would rather have an episode about them, or like a series about them alone. Just like, their training, the stuff that the missions they went on to go do things for Vader, watching them transition to be Vader's elite team still, because as we know, like the 501st is still active as a stormtroopers as well, and so like, let's see that transition. Let's see, like, were they forced to follow because the inhibitor chips? Were they forced to follow out of fear? Did they follow out of loyalty and respect for Anakin? How did it go? Like, that's something more interesting and exciting to me than the Bad Batch. Yeah. Especially since, like, I didn't even
Yeah.
remember who the Bad Batch was until I saw an announcement about it, and I was like, "Who? Who is this?" Like, I consider myself a pretty big Star Wars fan, and I went and Googled it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's like Magic said. Yeah, you had a few good missions, and other than that, what did you guys do? Nothing. Like, gosh, like leave Ahsoka alone, leave everything alone. Let's go old school. You know what I mean? Like, show us some Revans, show us some Nihilus, show us some Bane. Show us something like show us a lightsaber that we haven't seen before. Like before they got their energy cores. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I don't know.
Like the old Republic should be seen a lot. Go ahead.
yeah.
Oh yeah, agreed. But yeah, the Bad Batch I think is going to fail. I I I just don't think there's enough interest there. And I really feel
Yes.
like the executives over at Star Wars and Disney really need to start looking online and watching videos that like this that we produce and other content providers produce and what fans are asking for, and do that. Write a story on the fans on fan service. Explore the lore that we want to see. Quit giving us stuff that we're not asking for. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, quit trying to
Especially
make
since
us
you want
like
to try
it.
to cancel everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
especially
it's
since
like
you're trying to cancel everybody that does anything bad about Star Wars. So
exactly. And then like you said, season 7, I did not like the fact that we were in Ahsoka's point of view most of the time. And like you said, the last 2 episodes were definitely her point of view. We were following her and everything she was doing. And like that's great. But like what ruins a character is when you make them too much. When you're putting them in there too much. Ahsoka had a perfect balance of how much she was in there from her early days till when she's fighting Vader over the holocron, right? And then when she gets yanked out, but like they start pushing and pushing and shoving, you're going to end up turning this character who was beloved by many into a character that people roll their eyes when they see. They're like, oh, of course they bring him back, you know, of course. Like
That's because she's Jedi
especially
Jesus.
if you
well, so was Anakin, but geez, like,
No,
all right.
Anakin was completely wrong. That's nothing to do with Anakin. Anakin taught the Chosen One. That's what Dave Filoni wants you to believe. Like, Ahsoka's the Chosen One.
Anakin was the chosen mentor for the chosen one.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of Dave Filoni and talking about Clone Wars, let's talk about the midsection of the Ahsoka saga. I mean, sorry, Dave Filoni stuff, as in Star Wars Rebels. How did everyone feel about what Rebels tried to do with saying what happened between Episode 3 and 4, and how like it affected overall like everything in Star Wars? Of course, there is some issues, such as Vader encountered Ahsoka and stuff, and all this jazz, or like a bunch of shit happened. Like a lot of big, impactful shit happened in Rebels, and none of it was mentioned in Episode 4 because obviously Rebels came out far after Episode 4. But no, how did everyone feel about Rebels as a whole?
I Rebels is season 1 and 2 is great. Even if it does have that Disney XD cartoon type style that I didn't particularly care for. The toothpick lightsabers I didn't really
Somebody was going
particularly
to
care
mention the
for.
toothpick lightsabers.
But I thought Ezra Bridger was okay. I like Kanan Jarrus. I liked his story a lot. He actually became one of my favorites.
Me too, actually.
And
I
it
didn't like him in
also,
the beginning.
yeah, Kanan Jarrus became one of my favorites. Ezra, I I don't know if this is I don't know if this is just a thing with Star Wars. Like they always get like these new Jedi that need to be trained, and then they get like this half and half type deal. And because it happened with Anakin, it happened with Ahsoka, now it's with Bridger, and then it was with Rey, and it's just like I don't understand why y'all keep doing this half and half thing. Like
I called
and
it.
here we go.
I called it, didn't I?
Yeah,
I even said who it was going to be.
Oh my god.
I even said who it would be.
But no, seasons 1 and 2 is great. Vader and Ahsoka, despite the whole the apprentice lives and all that jazz, made seasons 1 and 2. Season 3 was okay. I like the Bendu because and a lot of people hate the Bendu because it brings in the fact of now there is actually a middle.
Of the Force.
And a lot of people, yeah, there's a middle of the Force, and people in Star Wars are there is no middle. It's either you're a light or you are dark, and it's just like, but no, like we're human. There's always a middle. Now, granted, and wait, no, let me stop myself before I go into a tangent. Anyways, season 3 was okay. Season 4 is where you almost killed the rebels with the whole time travel thing.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you literally almost killed Star Wars with that.
That entire being in that weird place where they were like looking in the doorways of time and stuff. That was. Yeah. Oh man. Like,
yeah,
come on.
You
This ain't
literally
Harry
not only
Potter.
almost killed rebels. Yeah, you almost killed Star Wars with that because now, since people don't like the sequel trilogy, now they're like, oh, well, you can go find the world between worlds, and you can go back and stop Palpatine from going into Exegol, and and it's just like, no, see, now you just, god damn it.
Leave time travel out of our stories.
I'm not saying
exactly.
I'm not saying Ezra literally could have stopped all of Episode 4 and all of the shit that he went through just by going in, talking to Anakin and being like, yo, homie, you calm down a little bit there, Chief. No, he instead of that, he went to go get Ahsoka. Like, of all people, like, you know, him stopping Anakin in the past would have retroactively saved Ahsoka and it would have fixed so much more stuff. But no, we need Jedi Jesus back with her new look at the end at the end of Rebels.
But see, here's the thing, though. Like, when Dave Filoni said Ahsoka lives, I was like, cool. Maybe some stuff happened in the temple, like stuff had separated them, or whatever the case may be, because the Malachor thing was about to explode. Yeah. So, boom, they got separated. She lives that way. No. You had Ezra Bridger pull her literally out of time. It said, here. No. Like, and that's when, and for a lot of people that I talk to that actually like Star Wars, like, that is the point where they was like, okay, Ahsoka. Okay. Okay. As you said, Thor, she is literally about to become Space Jesus. Because not only was the thing she was doing, like, she was handling Inquisitors like they were nothing. Now, granted, of course, she was trained by Yoda, Obi-Wan, Anakin, even had some with Mace. I get it. She's trained by the best of the best. But the way she was making them Inquisitors look foolish. Like,
yeah, she was.
I mean, like she was turning off people's lightsabers. Like, it was just like, bruh, like why are you having her go against these amateurs, bruh? Like, what? Like, these are supposed to be Sith Inquisitors that have chased down and killed Jedi Masters, Jedi trainees, Jedi everything, and here comes a Space Jesus, which is now, I'm glad you gave me that nickname because that's now officially her name. Like, Space Jesus. Space Jesus is just like, yeah, I don't care.
I'm not saying like she can't die, but the fact that when somebody suggested to Dave Filoni that she was dead in Rise of Skywalker, and annoyed that we couldn't hear her voice, or maybe we did hear her voice, I can't remember who was all in the voices. Dave Filoni went to Twitter and said,
yeah, no, he's a part of it.
Yeah, she's one of the voices.
Dave Filoni went to Twitter and made a post basically saying, you know, everyone thought Gandalf the Grey was dead as well, but then he came back as Gandalf the White, and it was him talking to Ahsoka, and it was just like, so what you're saying is Ahsoka's still alive at the end of the fucking the Skywalker Saga. She literally is.
She's Ahsoka the White.
Even though she's... Ahsoka the Light.
Yeah, Ahsoka the Light.
Ahsoka the Light.
Yeah.
Well, technically, Anakin did learn balance, so she is a great Jedi.
Now. Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like she's like 87 at the end of Rise of Skywalker. So it's just like granted, if you go back in lore, the oldest Targaryen to live that was a Jedi was like 200. But like, bruh, no. Like, I don't want to see Ahsoka for another 120 years. Like, no. Like, she had, like, that would have been, like, and this is the one thing I would give Rise of Skywalker if they would have done it correctly. Like, it's like all the old Jedi are passing the torch to Rey from Luke to Anakin to Ahsoka to Obi-Wan. They're like, okay, we're with you. Go defeat the last of our kind, the last of us, and we pass it on to you. Cool. That would have been a good send-off, because then it would have been like, okay, we know Ahsoka is dead here at the end of Rise of Skywalker. Now let's see how far long back has she's been dead, and then we could do a Space Jesus adventure where it's just like, okay, here's all of Ahsoka's adventures from the time she left Rebels, from when she was trying to find back Ezra and leaving Malachor to when she died, and then you have the scene at the end where you could actually do all the Jedi and the Cosmic Force talking to Rey, and you can see like they're above, and then you see the transition of the voices going down and Rey hearing it, and then going from there. I need my 10% Star Wars if you take my idea. Anyway, continue on.
Devin, do you want to jump in there with Rebels? Because we've just sort of been filling in on just hitting on Ahsoka, even though, it's Magic's favorite character.
Well, yeah, I feel like before Magic signed up to do the Star Wars talk, we should have realized how triggering Star Wars was for him.
Yeah.
Sorry, my cat Ahsoka decided to join the chat. Hi, Ahsoka, how are you? Now, anyways. Okay, you gotta go.
Jump on in. Just jump on in.
You're always in everything, aren't you, Ahsoka? Jeez. No, that's actually my cat Zuma. But no, I thought Rebels was really good. Kanan was definitely one of my favorite characters in that series. He didn't start off that way. I thought he was kind of abrasive and kind of a douche. But Ezra, I never liked him. I couldn't like him. He goes from a whiny child to overly cocky to another whiny child, and I feel like he plays like a victim. Like, I feel like he'd be a perfect Padawan for Ahsoka, and then they're like, hey, Ahsoka, train Ezra, and I'm like, okay. And so they did that. But then one thing I loved was that Maul tried to take him on as a Padawan, obviously to use him, but I loved that idea that Maul was like being a good guy, and like, I just want to do this to stop Palpatine because, he took everything from me, because he did. He killed Savage, and he ruined his life, and, just made him an outcast, made him a joke. And I thought that was pretty cool. And that's all I've got to say about Rebels. That, and I loved Ezra's lightsaber. I loved the fact that it was a blaster and a toothpick,
Yeah, that was yeah.
Because, like,
at that time...
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say no. I like you said, like we was talking about with the Old Republic, like bring on those type of designs to where it's like, okay, like, because the blaster lightsaber idea is a great idea because nobody will ever see it coming. It's like, oh, I got a lightsaber. Nah, I got a blaster. Wow, and you're good.
Most definitely. And that's the thing is, like, that gives the Jedi an extra weapon to use because we know that they're gonna kill if they have to. I mean, we've seen them do it, Anakin. And so just imagine, like, oh, okay, there's a lot of you, and you guys are running at me. Let me blast a few of you guys with my blaster right quick. Or if you're in a duel with somebody and you're locked, all you got to do is angle that hilt just a little bit and be like, oh, hey, by the way, pew pew, and then dead, like done. And I thought I love that idea of it being a dual type saber because, like, we've seen so many different types of sabers. We've seen whips, we've seen spears, we've seen lances, we've seen double, we've seen the ones that have like Kylo's that have the hilt on it, and the crossbar and everything like that. So that was another very nice addition to a way a Star Wars lightsaber could be. And quite frankly, I would love a video game that you could play like that. Where you can customize your own lightsaber and it could be whatever you want. It's like that because I think that'd be pretty cool. Everything else, though, like Magic said, as soon as Palpatine was messing with Ezra and put him in the space-time continuum circular block where the Time Lords are at, and he's like, listen, you can save all these people, and he's like, okay, come here, Ahsoka. And you're like, oh, okay, so you chose Ahsoka over everybody. That makes perfect logical sense. And, of course, they can't ruin the story because they've already have it set in place thanks to New Hope. But to me, I just felt like Well, you guys are right. Like he wants Jesus, and Ahsoka is going to be Jesus of the Jedi's, or of the Force itself. I'm not going to be surprised that when Ahsoka reaches Ahsoka the Light, that she won't be able to pull the dark side out of a Sith. Like I'm calling it right now, Star Wars. If you do this, I want my 10%. If you guys turn Ahsoka into this beacon of like omnipotent God mode, and she can walk up and go, "Let me heal the darkness within you," I better get a commission check. Because I see that happening.
Now, mind you, that is actually a thing in Star Wars Legend. I forget the actual name of it, but it took like 3 to 4 Jedi Masters to it either cuts you off or purges the dark side. I forget the actual name of it, but it takes 3 to 4 Jedi Masters to be able to do that. If they do that with Ahsoka, I swear I might cancel Star Wars. Yes, Mike, because it's just like, okay, y'all done ruined my favorite character now. Well, second favorite. Y'all ruined my second favorite character now. Anyways, but yeah, speaking of which, I think that is a problem with Star Wars, though, and it's a problem because, and I don't want to say it's George Lucas's fault, but it kind of is. It's like you made 4, 5, and 6 in the 80s, so it's just like anything that happens before, it's, as you said, it's a lock because we know 4, 5, and 6 is this. And it's just like anything that you do before, you can't change the story, really. You have to try to find a way to write it to where it makes sense, but that everything that happens has to be performed by Luke in episode 4. And just like, and that's the problem with the sequel trilogy. Like, once you get past episode 6, everything should have been free game. You could have introduced new force powers. You could have introduced new schools, new ways to be a part of the dark side. Ahsoka could have episode 6 probably should have been Ahsoka's thing, if we're going to be completely honest. Because that would have been, okay, if she's alive, then, she could possibly meet Luke, and they could possibly do things, and you could bring a connection between the Clone Wars and Luke realizing, okay, I'm not alone. Yeah. I'm not the last.
And it is
and then that could, because, yeah.
It isn't like we don't know the
Go ahead,
Yeah, sorry. It isn't like we don't know the characters are in the background or just there in the movies, right? Because it was confirmed somewhere. I don't know if it was retconned out when because Disney did Clone Wars. Never mind, sorry. So it was confirmed that Rex was in the Battle of Endor. He was one of the rebel fighters.
As well as Mutala, yeah.
Yeah, there was a bunch of characters from the old things, and they didn't interact at all. But since we got that confirmation before episode 7, there should have been something leading into that, right? But I think the best thing Rebels did, right, was have Kanan Jarrus there, because he's my third favorite character, right? It goes Obi-Wan, Cal Kestis, and then Kanan, right? See, Kanan, he has all this cool shit. When he gets blinded, it's even more cooler. And I like it after his death because Freddie Prinze Jr. just raved on against the fandom. I'm sure everyone's seen the rant talking about how Star Wars fans see Star Wars, and he's just you're wrong because Dave Filoni taught him, blah, 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 blah. What Dave Filoni's trying to say with how the Force works is there is a gray area. Well, sorry, no, there is no good or bad, technically. There's just the Force, and it doesn't matter how strong the bad gets, the Force will just make an objector to it that will be stronger than that. So it's the issue of I think there's been a couple of arguments in the admin chat where it's just what's stronger, the dark side or the light side, and it's just technically neither, because it doesn't matter how strong you get, it doesn't matter if you can destroy a universe or something with your almighty Force powers. All of a sudden the Force is going to be hold up, my guy, here's a light user that can restore a multiverse or some shit. It's just how it works. It doesn't matter what you do with the Force, because the Force is just you need to be using me right, or else I'm just going to slap you around with somebody else. And it's just, Rebels did pretty well.
And it doesn't matter. Yeah, no, I was going to say, it doesn't matter if you're light or dark. The Force is if you don't use me right, then I'm going to show you that you do need to use me right.
Yeah.
like the Jedi. Oh, in the beginning, we were all about the Force, and then they got corrupted. Okay, the Force is like, okay, I'm gonna give y'all a few more years. Hold on. Here's Plagueis. Hold on. Okay. Sidious. Yes. Darth Sidious. Yes. 30 years now. Jedi Purge.
Yeah, just fuck them all up. Like it's just how it goes. Like it's just Rebels was pretty G. I think the worst thing it did was in season 4, besides all the time travel shit as well, was literally the stuff with Admiral Thrawn. He was such a big antagonist in Legends, and then it was just like, you know what can beat this, super mighty tactical genius? Teleporting Space Force wheels. Like it was really just like that's what happened. Like the wheels came in, jumped his ship, and then Ezra was just like, "Hey, let's just warp into outer space." I know the worst thing about it as well. I think there's a high chance of Ezra coming back because, Dave Filoni's very
No, it's
adamant.
confirmed.
Yeah, it's confirmed. Yeah, it's
I didn't
confirmed.
see
He's
anything
coming back.
about that.
Yeah, it's
Is it-
confirmed. He's coming because that's what the Rebel sequel is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about Ahsoka and Sabine Wren. There we go. Sabine. Supposed to be going out and finding Ezra. That's what the sequel is supposed to be about. Is finding Ezra and then bringing some other stuff into it.
Well, I mean, that's going to be interesting considering, like, if the Rebels sequel, when the Rebel sequels comes out, they're going to have to explain why, some random cunt in Mandalorian has Sabine's Darksaber, and why does he have it? Like, it isn't like she didn't have Jedi Jesus.
No. It's explained. I think it's in Rebels where I think she tries to give it to her mother. And I think either the mother or somebody else takes the Darksaber. The Darksaber's in Mandalore.
Right.
Yeah,
by
Rebel.
Right.
But Mandalore uses it until the Mandalorian Purge.
Right.
Because Maul took it. Because Maul took it from him.
Yeah. But no, it was.
But I think Sabine did have it at the end. I think you are right about that.
Yeah, and there's some other stuff with Rebels characters that just need to be properly explained by Dave Filoni because they just outright show what's the name of the ship in Rebels? Ghost something. What do you call it?
The Ghost.
The Ghost. The Ghost is in the end of Rise of Skywalker. Like it's there in the big fleet.
Yeah.
We need to see what's going on with that because that means Kanan's child's there, isn't it? Isn't that his child, right? With the girl, with old girl.
Yeah, that's his child. Him and Pilot's child. Yeah.
Yeah, like if that person, like if that child's force sensitive, we know fucking Ahsoka's still alive. So is she going to train that? Ezra's confirmed to be alive. So what's Ezra doing? Like it's just so much stuff. It just more retroactively, fills in that the title of The Last Jedi doesn't make sense, and people need to look at other medias when they're, creating a movie or something within a big series.
Yeah.
But no, let's leave off.
I had a theory that the young boy that we saw in The Last Skywalker, or The Last Jedi, sorry, was you say at the little boy who summons the broom up to his hand. I always thought I had a theory that was Ezra's child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that he knew that he was force sensitive, and he tried to hide him away. Because as we go back to the prequel trilogy, we talk about they don't want to train anybody that isn't a certain age. But that's how the Jedi is. But in reality, if you think about it, they get them at a young age so they can teach. That's so that everything that they know from then on out is the Jedi way. It's brainwashing. That's exactly what it is. And so I don't think there should be an age on how old a person should be to train. Just like Luke, he proved that you could be 16, 17 years old and still be able to be trained to be a Jedi. So I always had a theory that Ezra's child was that kid, and he was going to be a big play into the series. Even have Ahsoka be his master, and then they just completely forgot that child existed, and then The Last Skywalker, or whatever it's called, The Rise of Skywalker. That's not a Skywalker because the Skywalkers are dead. Rey.
There's like so many, right? So I think another issue we should look at some point later on is we know that Palpatine made Vader, then Vader had kids, and then them kids had Ben Solo and stuff, and then
Hmm.
Palpatine had his own kids, and then them kids gave birth to Rey. So technically, when Ben and Ray kiss, that's a bit, there's something going on there. It doesn't matter, like, it's midichlorians and made Darth
Yeah,
Vader.
it's weird.
Like Palpatine still made both parents, but no.
Exactly. Like Palpatine has been confirmed to be the reason Anakin was created. So like when you see Ben and Rey kiss, you're like, all right, listen,
Yeah.
Star Wars,
I
listen.
like I get it. At the end of New Hope, you had Luke and Leia kiss, but it shouldn't be that normal. But no, leading into more Dave Filoni stuff. Mandalorian season 1. Obviously, since Mandalorian season 2 just dropped. Well, sorry, the first episode just dropped, and there's much stuff on
Yes.
that. With season 1, how did everyone feel about it? Obviously, Devin, you haven't watched it, but you watched a pretty good breakdown. Me and Magic have watched it as well. So, what did you think of it from what you saw?
From what I saw, I was really intrigued that Bryce Dallas Howard directed episode 4. I don't agree with her directing style, so when I do watch The Mandalorian, I will be curious on
Oh,
if I will like episode 4.
you won't.
Um, one thing that I think makes The Mandalorian excel is something that superhero movies could take advice from. He leaves on his helmet. He is the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like when we're watching a Batman film or an Iron Man film or a Black Panther film or Ant-Man film, we're wanting to see what the name of the movie is. We want to see Iron Man. We want to see Captain America. We want to see Ant-Man. We want to see this stuff. And like that's one thing that Mandalorian seems to really do well is they keep him in costume and like they don't remove his helmet. You know, one of the famous catchphrases I remember coming out with all the memes was "This is the way." You know, and
Yeah.
I love that. You know, he can still be the Mandalorian with his helmet on. You know, not everybody needs screen time. Screen time, just like spoiler alert for Spider-Man: Far From Home. But when he's fighting Mysterio in the tunnel, it's the end of the fight, he takes off his mask after he just took out all the drones to take on Mysterio. I'm like, stop taking your mask off, Spidey. Like, okay, listen, Tom Holland, we know that you're in the movie. We know you were casted as Spider-Man. Leave your mask on. We don't want to see Peter Parker right now. We want to see Spider-Man. And so that's one thing that really intrigues me. Also, it made me laugh uncontrollably for like 2 weeks straight. Everyone freaking out about Baby Yoda,
Yeah.
also known as the Child. But I will throw something at you guys that I did pull away because I felt like, oh, this is a topic I can't talk on, but I can blow people's minds. Did you ever realize that Baby Yoda and Anakin Skywalker were born in the same year?
What?
And and so when Yoda says to Luke in the fifth movie, obviously we know he's referring to Leia, but if we're not referring to Leia, if Yoda is believing in the ways of the Jedi and that Leia is too old to be trained and maybe she doesn't have strong enough midichlorians, whatever, Yoda may have been referring to the child. So this kind of makes you think
Oh,
until we get some ideas that what if Yoda was messing with midichlorians as well?
I
You
didn't.
know what I mean? Or if Yaddle, who we see a brief moment in Phantom Menace, was pregnant.
I
Because there was another Yoda
oh.
species there on the council.
I never thought about that. Like, because every time you look at the child, it's just like, yeah, it's a baby. You always forget that it's 50 years old. Um, like, yeah, no, that's interesting. With stuff revolving
Yes,
around.
I'm gonna be not gonna lie, that blew my mind. I did
Yeah,
not know
yeah, I
that Anakin
didn't.
and the child was born in the same year.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Maybe this is Dave
Look at
Filoni
me,
making it.
I'm fitting in.
Maybe
That's
this
all
is
I've
Dave
got.
Filoni making an actual chosen one, a new space Jesus, but with the
That
child.
and then the child and Ahsoka have to battle it out for supremacy of being the chosen one, and that'll be the movie.
No,
Yeah.
no, no.
I
Well,
like
it's
it.
Trinity.
Space
No,
Jesus
no, it's
versus
Trinity.
Space Jesus.
No, no, no. It's God. Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. God is Anakin. Ahsoka is Jesus Christ, and the child is the Holy Spirit because the child is the spirit of the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah. Um, see what
um,
see the Mandalorian stuff because I watched like some of the I watched the first episode of the creation of the Mandalorian, which is the one I was most interested in, which was the directors talking about it, and like they're talking about it was basically like all of them have different directing styles, and it was clear that there was one person that was significantly weaker than the rest, and that I gotta admit it was Bryce because in episode 4, I think it's called Family or something, I can't remember. They just shove a love interest
yeah.
in the middle of it, and it's just like, why are you doing this? Like, like, they're trying to say that oh, he's debating on taking his helmet off and settling down. It's just like, why? He's only known this girl for 2 days, right? He's been a Mandalorian since he was like 8, like or something like that. Like, why would he do? No, like it was really dumb. Like the directing style was just horrible
It's
for
called,
that episode.
yeah, no,
Um,
it's called Sanctuary. I just had to look it
Sanctuary.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's called Sanctuary. But no, I hated that. I like the episode was cool, but it was just like, what's this love interest? Like this 2 day love interest, and God, just.
thankfully
But
we
no,
know that she isn't in season 2 as a director. I don't think she might be.
no, I don't think so either.
Um, but
So, but
no,
yeah, no,
yeah.
but no, yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. So I think like the best thing to do with Mandalorian, right, is the sort of touched upon the fall of Mandalore a bit. Like we seen at the end of Clone Wars, kinda. Like, well, no, because
Yeah,
yeah, like we seen a bit of it, and then it was just we need to know more about the fall of Mandalore, especially when you're developing it so much in the series. Um, along with like we need to know more about the character of of Mando, because I know like it's meant to be this blank slate kind of thing, but they've already touched upon his backstory a bunch that we need to know more about him. Um, and then unfortunately with season 2, they're introducing Ahsoka Tano. I'm pretty sure that was confirmed. Everyone's seen the
Yep.
confirmations of what they're doing. They've done Boba Fett in it as well, which I think will be interesting because I'm pretty sure Boba Fett isn't properly considered a Mandalorian because he was a clone of a Mandalorian and just took up Django's armor. I don't think he follows any of the religious beliefs. I could be wrong about that with like
No,
all his
no,
stuff.
you're not wrong. He doesn't follow that. As when Boba was
he's
created, he was
Mandalorian.
yeah, he's by inheritance, but not by like practice. Like he follows the way that Django was because he was a clone that got the rapid aging removed from him, so he would age like a normal human or a normal individual would. He just follows Django's way. So whatever Django Fett's way is, that's what Boba Fett is. So like he is a Mandalorian by inheritance, like by blood or whatever, but not by his choice of practicing the way they do, going along their beliefs and so on and so forth.
I think it'll be interesting to see
Yeah,
in season 2 of Mandalorian where they're going to go with Boba Fett with if he's a Mandalorian or not. Because obviously in Rebels it showed off that not all Mandalorians have to keep their helmet on, right? Because there was like
Yeah.
certain factions within the Mandalorians, and that's why Sabine could just take it off whenever she wanted to, basically. Um, but no, like we don't know anything about Jango Fett. I'm pretty sure he wasn't developed at all in the comics. And then when Boba Fett came out, there was some comics with him going up against Darth Vader and stuff and all that jazz. That like I don't think there was any proper character development outside the Clone Wars with Boba Fett, but in that entire situation from him becoming a bounty hunter and stuff, there's no instance of him being like, yeah, I'm a Mandalorian. It's just he's a clone of somebody who was a Mandalorian, and like he doesn't follow the creeds, the tenets, and he's just a bounty hunter with Mandalorian armor. So
Yeah.
yeah, um, but no, season 1 of Mandalorian's pretty good. Dave Filoni seems to know what he's doing. Unfortunately, it's going to be the Ahsoka Tano show when season 2 introduces her. Um, but we'll see how it goes. What's your thoughts on it, Magic?
no. The Mandalorian was actually a very good surprise for me. because you know some about the Mandalorians, but it's just like, oh, we're gonna be dealing with just one and seeing how he goes through his adventures. I was actually surprised. Eventually, it turned into the Holy Spirit show with Baby Yoda. So, because once Baby Yoda got on the scene, nobody cared about nothing else but Baby Yoda. God, um, that was a month.
That's why I worship the
just, oh my
stormtrooper that
God.
punched him. You are my god now. Thank you for doing what we wanted to do.
I think another good
Because yeah,
thing.
that whole Baby Yoda craze is just, oh my God. But no, Mandalorian's good. I like that he was doing stuff without the Beskar at first,
Yeah.
and then he had to go and get the rest of the Beskar, even though it was only an episode. But still, it showed that the Mandalorians still have to have skills outside of the super protective armor.
Yeah.
And then once he got the Beskar, it was pretty much like, yeah, I'm taking sniper shots. Like, I love I don't know her real name. I know she's Mulan though. Not the current Disney Mulan, which is garbage, but we're not gonna get into that. The cartoon Mulan.
Okay.
I love her in episode, I think it was 5.
Oh, was she the assassin?
Yeah, I think it was her in episode. Yeah, she was the assassin. Yeah, that was episode 5. It was. I even liked the whole Han Solo knockoff in episode 5. No, it was just like like last season was a great season, and I hope they continue it. John Favreau and Dave Filoni, when Dave Filoni's not controlling Space Jesus, knows what he's doing. Which is why I'm glad. I hopefully hope that they move Kathleen Kennedy and just put John Favreau and Dave Filoni in charge of the entire Star Wars medium, so that way we know, even if it's not George Lucas, we know that it's somebody that George Lucas trained.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, now we can have back faith in Star Wars now, because it's somebody that George Lucas trained, and he's now not only taken on his training, but has evolved from his training and is now able to put Star Wars in a better direction. But no, The Mandalorian's great. It will be bittersweet when Ahsoka comes in, because I hope, because the whole premise of season 2 is getting Baby Yoda home.
Yeah.
Or getting Baby Yoda the Jedi. So I hope that he listens and understands that, yes, we love Space Jesus, but don't make her be a focal point. It's supposed to be the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian. Have him be the focus. And I hope, actually, I want a twist to where Baby Yoda actually gets to speak.
Yeah.
Because, he's like 50 years old, but
What if he talks
he
normally?
gets to speak and he's like, no.
What,
He talks normally. He's like, no, I still want to be a Mandalorian. I hope there's a twist in there where he's like, I'll learn for a little bit, but then I want to go back to being a Mandalorian because I miss my dad.
Yeah. The twist is Yoda
I
has
hope
this
that
impediment to his race. But I think the best two things that I can think of that are going to come out of Mandalorian is, so we seen, I think it was episode 1 and the last episode of Mandalorian that Taika Waititi directed. He definitely directed more than 2, and it was definitely one of them was the last one. From them ones, they're really good. Obviously, I said the weakest one was episode 4, Sanctuary. Like, all the other ones were amazing, and Taika Waititi's one at the end was amazing. And we know that he has control of a Star Wars movie out there. We don't know what it's going to be about, but it's good to see that.
Trilogy.
Yeah, it might be a trilogy. I could be wrong. Like, I know
It hasn't been confirmed yet.
But no, I'm glad to see that we already have, we already know what to expect from him, right? And then what I want to see for definite, right, is, when a Christian bumps into another religious person and it has to be instantly, my religion's better than yours, I want that with the Mando and Ahsoka, with talking about the Force and how the Mandalorians are just so opposed to the use of the Force. I think Dave Filoni said when he was developing Mandalorians and stuff that he sees it as Mandalorians upgrades with the Beskar and all the way they trained and stuff was inherently changed when they encountered the Jedi. So it's all based around going against the Jedi, which I find interesting considering most of the Mandalorians don't know what a Jedi is at this point, or what the Force is and all that jazz. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if like
Mhm.
it'd be funny to see Ahsoka walk up to the child and be like, you're force sensitive. I'm going to teach you. And then Mando's just like, I don't want none of that Jesus shit near my child. Like that's what I want.
What
Uh,
you know? It'd be perfect if that happened and Mando's like, you're not gonna touch my child. You're not gonna do anything like that. You're not gonna teach him nothing. And the Baby Yoda's first words are, "This is the way,"
yeah,
or
that'd be
"The way
good.
this is."
That'd be good. Um, okay.
Again, Disney, my
Oh, do
profit
you
for
know how
that.
many people would lose their, do you know how many people would lose their shit if Baby Yoda was to say the way this is? Oh,
That's what we need. Um, okay, leading off a bit just from like the series and stuff, and just talking overall like other Star Wars mediums such as the comics and the games. How do you think like all the canonical games currently that we know of, which is some of Battlefront 2, because it was meant to be all a canon, but then they just changed a lot of it, and some of it is canon and some of it isn't.
Yeah.
All of Jedi Fallen
yeah.
Order's canon. Squadrons, I'm pretty sure, is canon. And
Yes.
all current comics coming
Yes.
out are canon. And then there's also like the shitty TV shows we don't talk about, like Jedi or Star Wars, whatever it was, which was the sequel trilogy's TV show that I can't remember. That has Poe Dameron in it for a little bit. It's a shit show. Can't even remember the name of it. Um, but yeah, no.
Oh, you're
I know what
talking
you're
about
talking about.
the crappy cartoon shows that they try to come out with that include like Poe Dameron and stuff and
Yeah.
that nobody cares about, that nobody remembers.
Yeah. So how does everyone feel about like these other mediums, right, affecting the overall Star Wars universe? Like, just outside of like we've already talked about Rebels, Clone Wars, and Mandalorian. So like, what about stuff like the two Star Wars movies that are not separate from the Skywalker Saga, but like their own movies? So Rogue One and Han Solo, and then obviously the canonical game and the Vader comics coming out, developing them more, and every other comic coming out. Like, how do you feel about it?
um, One, the Han Solo movie should have never been made.
Ever,
Um,
ever.
should have never been made. Han Solo story, like if you wanted to do a Han Solo story, you should have did it as either a television show or a cartoon. Um, because
Or
you
just have
basically
his
know the
story
gist
be
of
like
Han Solo,
entwined in another story.
which it was. It was episodes 4 through 6. That's all Han Solo. Like
Yeah.
that's all of Han Solo's story. Like his character development in 4. Like, oh yeah, I'm just this rogue smuggler that just cheated. God, what's his name? No, Jabba the
Jabba?
Hutt. There we go. I almost forgot Jabba the Hutt. I was like, I'm this rogue bounty. I'm this rogue smuggler that just cheated Jabba the Hutt, and then it's like he goes from being selfish and only caring about himself to okay, now I'm going to help out now I'm going to help out the alliance or whatever. And his character development from 4 to 6 is complete. Cool.
Mhm.
That's Han Solo's story. The movie should have never been made because nobody cares about Han Solo. Like
No.
nobody unless, like you said, unless Han Solo's a part of the original trilogy, nobody cares. His story was done. Rogue One, boring, but still good. It's boring and drawn out, but it was still good. And of course, one of the best scenes entirely in the entire Star Wars fandom, Darth Vader's ending scene.
Yeah.
Like that is pinnacle. That is almost damn near pinnacle Star Wars of Vader at his best in his prime. Just and then it's just like Star Wars went from Rogue One went from a heroic movie to a horror film in like 2.5 seconds. And it's just like the build up. Oh yeah, we got to get the plans. Let's go. And then you just see the door being jammed, and it's just like, and then you hear the breathing, and then you don't hear Darth Vader say anything. You just hear breathing and the turning on of a red lightsaber, and the shock and fear of every person with a gun
Yeah.
trying their best and getting slaughtered. And the thing about it is, Darth Vader is one of those characters, and I'll get to the video games in just a second, to where as soon as you hear him breathe, either one, everybody knows who he is, or two, everybody shits their pants. He's that iconic to where it's just like, when Vader comes, it's just like, oh shit. And that whole Vader Rogue One scene, oh god, that's my second favorite thing about Vader. Number one, of course, is the video game.
Yeah.
And it's just his presence alone in the video game at the end is, which Jedi Fallen Order also surprised me, because even though I know they took it's a Dark Souls concept of combat style and everything, but I liked that they took the Dark Souls concept and made it its own thing, and they didn't make it like Starkiller, The Force Unleashed, which is a very good game. It's a very, very good game. But I like the fact that they didn't take that same formula and they took the Dark Souls formula and was like, okay, let's sprinkle some Star Wars on it, and it makes it look 10 times better. I forget her name. The second sister. What's her name officially?
Oh, I can't remember the second sister's official name.
Me either.
Yeah, her. Her. I like her character development, but I also like the fact, once again, that throughout the entire game, she is confident. She's kicking her behind. She's like, you can't beat me, and you can't do this. And then as soon as Darth Vader shows up, she is frozen, and she is in complete and utter fear of Darth Vader. And Vader's just like, you failed me. Avenge us. Nope. Get out of here. and then Seer. And then Seer is just like, oh, I'm gonna attack him. And Vader's like, bitch, get out of my face. What the fuck? Like, who are you? Like, you are. I don't even. You're not Obi-Wan of Space Jesus. Get out of my face.
Obi-Wan of Space Jesus.
Obi-Wan is meant to be the
pinnacle
of Space Jesus.
True.
Yeah.
True. But yeah. Go ahead.
I think like the most interesting thing all the other medias do is develop Darth Vader, because obviously we have the Darth Vader comics. We had some Kylo Ren comics come out. I think Luke Skywalker had his own comic.
Yep, for a little bit.
Yes. Sorry to interrupt. Dr. Aphra is my third favorite character.
Dr. Aphra?
Dr. Aphra, it's Anakin, Ahsoka, and then Dr. Aphra. Dr. Aphra is, of course, introduced in the Darth Vader comics, and she's a lesbian, which is also cool, by the way. And it was just like, I liked her character because you never really seen anybody associate with Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Besides, of course, when he was Anakin. So to have somebody be like, okay, we're gonna have them along with Vader, and it's not like she's just a tag along. She's like, oh, I know how to get stuff. I know how to research. I know how to do this and do that. I have my two own killer bots, so I don't really need you, Vader. Yeah. I'm going to be tagging along because we're on the same interest and we're on the same wavelength. And I thought that was cool. Like, pretty much the comics for Vader and the way he goes into Mustafar, and he goes into that other world where he and deals with all the Jedi Masters in his past, and he sees Luke. Technically, he doesn't see him, but he sees Luke's figure, and he can't beat him.
Yeah.
And it expanded on that, and the whole Padme Amidala is dead panel in that comic was also heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because that just twists the knife more of you feeling for Anakin. Because that's all he really wants. He just really wants his life and his wife and he'll realize he'll have children later.
Yeah.
But he just wants his life and his wife and his children. And it's just, and the last, 20 to 30 years of Anakin's life is just, it's heartbreaking and sad, but it's also badass because he's Vader.
Yeah.
So,
I think, yeah.
No, like, the comic, go ahead.
The best thing about the Star Wars mediums is developing all the characters that we have already introduced to that had like no screen time basically whatsoever in like any of them, right? So Darth Vader has amazing scenes in the games and comics. Obviously, we already talked about the Rogue One scene and the when he goes up against Cal Kestis and your woman. I can't remember her name, even though you just said it.
Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah. Like, that was a great scene. But I think like there's also like in the comics, like you were talking about, there's also amazing scenes with just like every other character. I think the best scene like Vader ever has to show off how powerful and cruel and badass he is was when he was surrounded by like a militia of rebels and they told him to
Yeah.
stand down, and of course he's just like I'm only surrounded by dead men and just eradicates them. So cool. But like
Yeah. His
like
All
exact
I
words
see is
were,
fear and dead men.
all I'm surrounded by is fear and dead men. And
yeah.
everyone just started shaking.
Like it's the most badass thing you could say in that moment, and he just wipes them out. And then there's people like Grand Moff Tarkin, which just seemed like a large jobber, right? Because we've seen him a little bit in Episode 4, and then he dies, right? But in the Vader comics, they make it really clear that he's like, even though Vader has all this like power behind him, Grand Moff Tarkin shouldn't be fucked with because in the Vader comic, Grand Moff Tarkin nearly kills Vader, and the only reason that Vader still like survived is literally just based on the fact that he's just that like powerful. Like Grand
He's
Moff,
just that dude.
yeah, like it was literally just like I'm pretty sure Grand Moff Tarkin said, this would have killed anyone, but Vader's just so determined that he won't die, and like, of course, like
Yeah.
I think the only issue with like these mediums expanding, right, is showing off the power of every character, right? So we have Cal Kestis, right? He's doing all this crazy shit. He's beaten the Ninth Sister, who was confirmed to be the second strongest Inquisitor, just behind the Grand Inquisitor, and then all
Mhm.
this jazz. He defeated some random Jedi Master that was enhanced with like dark magic and all that jazz.
Yep.
You couldn't fuck with Vader at all, right? Then we'll go into the comics. Nobody can fuck with Vader, right? And then right at the end of like episode like 6 of like Star Wars, Vader's just he's nothing. Like he's nothing in like what do you call it? He's nothing in episode 4. He's barely anything in episode 5, and he's nothing in episode 6. Like he's this big powerful character in every other medium, and then it comes into the main like Skywalker saga, and it's just like, well, you know, he's in a big clunky suit and he can barely move his arms because of the way the suit design is. Like,
Well, and that's the problem we was going into earlier of, oh well, George Lucas made these movies in the 80s, so everything is locked.
Yeah.
So now because that even happened in episodes the prequel trilogy where Darth Maul was doing all these crazy lightsaber moves, and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon when he was younger was hanging out with Maul and everything, and he was doing all these flips and these tricks, and you see in the Rebels cartoon of Yoda doing a lightsaber actually that was episode 3 where he was doing a lightsaber throw and catching it and going through clone troopers and flipping and everything. Like you didn't see that in the 80s. So so now everything is just locked. So now, as you said, when you was going with Cal Kestis, having a dual-bladed lightsaber that could connect back and doing tricks with that, and Darth Vader pretty much almost bringing down a room by himself,
Yeah.
showing how powerful he is, and tossing Jedi Masters like they're nothing, like get out my face, and everything like that. Yeah, like it's just like pretty much like George Lucas. Like I said, George Lucas helped sci-fi and Star Wars, but he hurt it because it's just like even in the sequel trilogy with the Force dyad. Like we heard there was a Force dyad before, but that hadn't been seen since like damn near the Old Republic. So, which the Old Republic, it's again another great video game, which is not canon unfortunately, but shows the power. Like Darth Vader, yeah, he would still be powerful, but there will be plenty of dark side users that are just as powerful as him, such as Nihilus, Bane, I forget, Naga Sadal, who was able to make a star explode, things of that nature. And it's just like the games and the other medium are just like you said, making all these characters like. These characters are damn near planetary and beyond in other mediums, but in George Lucas's episodes 4, 5, and 6, I'm just a hunk of mass in a suit.
Yeah.
I can't really do anything. Let me barely lift up this stormtrooper like this. No, like, yeah,
like, like we're probably not going to talk about much of like all the legend stuff, unfortunately, this podcast is going to be talking about the lore stuff. But obviously, for our proper Star Wars episode for May the 4th, we're going to talk about all the good legend stuff. But no, like, see, all the mediums, like, like they have such awkward power scaling when it comes to everything, especially when you consider, right, that they're trying to get on that Ben Solo is meant to be as strong or, like, just under Vader in terms of strength, or Rey's this and Rey's that, and then you see all the mediums outside of the movies, and it's just like, so where is, Ben Solo stopping a militia? Like, where's Rey doing all this crazy shit? Like, the best thing, like, literally, Cal Kestis in one game has more feats than both Ben and Rey. Like, the best thing Rey has is getting amped by all the Force ghosts to defeat Palpatine. Like, no, it's just so dumb. With, like, as much as I
and that's another thing. It's like, how big is the amp? Because Sidious has all the Sith behind him, and now it's like Rey has all of the Jedi. So now, how big is the amp?
Yeah, like, it's just
because there's far more Jedi than there ever were Sith, even after the big Jedi-Sith war in Legends.
Yeah, and obviously, like, with the new canon, they changed what the Rule of Two meant, because the Rule of Two was meant to be, like, the Sith will non-stop getting stronger and stronger, because by that logic, Darth Sidious is meant to be strong, like, the strongest, but then they changed it to be like, no, the Rule of Two was made just to make a Force dyad, so then they could have two Force-sensitive people on the dark side that were a dyad to make them the strongest ever, like, out of, like, both sides and stuff. But no, like, with all the mediums and stuff showing off the cool shit, I enjoy it, but, like, dear God, does it affect just the quality of the movies when you go back and watch them? Like, it's just, come on now, Chiefs. Like, you have Darth Vader destroying a militia by himself, and then his son that he's clearly trying to kill and is just easily being able to keep up with him when he has no proper, like, lightsaber training, because we don't see Yoda train him properly in a lightsaber. It's all Force related stuff. But, Luke is able to catch up with him in lightsaber combat and stuff. No, it's just, yeah, no. Speaking
and it's just like, no, I was going to say one last thing. It's just like, and then they tried to show Luke having some kind of instruction in the comics, but it's just like, when you compare to Vader, it's just like anybody compared to Vader in any other medium other than the movies, and you're just like, bruh, no. Like, no. Like you said, taking out a whole militia, taking out a Jedi Force master that trained in all 7 forms, and it's just like him going against his replacements.
Yeah. Especially when some of them were some of them were crazy as well as replacements, because one of them was literally just General Grievous, but a bit more with Force sensitive stuff, and it's just
And it's just like, no. But yeah, continue on.
Devin, do you have anything to add before we move to the next topic?
Yeah, I think the extra media, while us fans really enjoy it, if they're not going to find a way to mention the added media into the movies and stuff, then you have confused fans who are scratching their heads and going, what? This makes no sense. As the three of us know, and those who watch this later will know, we all know how Darth Maul is able to appear in Han Solo, right? We know how that is possible. But, like say my girlfriend, for example, who's just watched the movies, never done the extra stuff, when she watches it, she's like, hey, isn't that the guy who got cut in half? Like, how is he still standing? Like, oh, well, here, you have to watch all this now, And, of course, the Clone Wars it makes example of it, but, like, do you see grown people who, like, don't watch cartoons, like these adults who think that the fact that we still watch them, that we're childish, do you see them going back through and watching 7 seasons of Clone Wars to learn how Maul got his bio spider legs and then his other legs and all this other? No, they're not. You're going to have to put that in a description, or someone tells the story to somebody real quick, just a plot filler. While we thoroughly love this added extra stuff, especially with the Vader comics, when Palpatine says you need to go make your own lightsaber, and we get to learn how a Sith Lord's lightsaber is made. It's forcibly taken, and then it's then the Kyber crystal is corrupted. We see Vader take on the Jedi who was protecting the dam. That was a great battle. That would be a great movie. I would love that movie. That would seem awesome. But like, you can't explain this because people go, "Where? How come Yoda didn't have his lightsaber in the fifth movie?" Well, the Darth Vader comic shows it. They incinerated all the lightsabers after Order 66. I think a lot of this extra media that we thoroughly enjoy is what ruins the movies, especially when the movies go ahead and add those points in there and give it no explanation whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm going to tell you right now, Thor, nobody would have been able to guess what a force diag was and what the true context of the rule of two is. And I can even bet you this as well. Those who have watched all of the movies probably couldn't even tell you what the rule of two was.
Yeah.
And we just happen to know that because we're huge fans and it's explained to us because we read the extra media. So I think in a way, while it does add world building and gives us new avenues to look at, I feel like if you put it in the big movies without a good explanation, it also can hurt the storyline overall.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Again, love all of it. I know we all love it, but I think it also hurts the general audience as well, who doesn't understand how Darth Maul is still standing there. I thought he was dead. He was cut in half. What happened to Jar Jar Binks? Why did he get cut? Like, why all of a sudden is he only 2 or 3 lines in the next 2 movies of the prequel trilogy? How does Sidious able to come back? I guarantee you nobody who's watched Star Wars can tell you that Sidious is technically the father of Anakin Skywalker. Nobody would have been able to tell you that because, as the movies tell you, there was no father.
Yeah.
Because Shivy even says that herself. There was no father when she was talking to Qui-Gon. And I think the extra media, while it does add, like I said, adds the extra world building and stuff, I think it also hurts the major movies as well.
Yeah.
If you don't explain it or at least point to it. And also, going back to Star Wars: A New Hope, that was supposed to be the only movie. It was supposed to be just called A New Hope. And that's it. There was supposed to be no sequel. It wasn't even supposed to get made. A lot of people doubted it, mocked it, made fun of it, and then all of a sudden, boom, Empire Strikes Back. And then and that's great, and it adds to it. But that lock really hurts when you're trying to build off something that was made almost like 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what I have.
Main thing. No, you're fine. No, I'm sorry to cut you off at the end, but that's the point. Like, I think that's the general consensus of what all three of us are saying. Like, none of us were thought of when Star Wars was made. So, and now it's just like, oh yeah, we have a love for the originals, but it's just like now with all this new extra medium, it's like, bruh, like trying to go back. And watch episodes 4, 5, and 6 when you've read all the comics, played all the games, and everything. It's just like, oh God, like no, like none of this
because you ask yourself, why does Vader fear Grand Moff Tarkin, right? Why do you fear this guy? We clearly know that you could snap his neck, but if you read the comics, you would find out that, like, you don't mess with the dude. Like, he will kill you. Like, yeah, exactly. But like, we don't explain that, so like, it kind of deludes Vader's overall presence and power that this old man over here can tell Vader to watch his tone. And Vader's like, all right, but he'll go over here and choke out some other dude. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. I know, right?
Can't wait to go through like an hour and a half just to edit this out. Right. Okay, there we go. We're back. So where were we? Oh yes, because we're talking about like all the mediums and stuff. And I don't know if Eugen's had this issue because obviously I'm the youngest admin. Doesn't mean I'm not the most intelligent. I'm clearly the highest up one. Don't fuck with me. What do you call it?
Oh my God, here we go.
I don't know if Eugen's had this issue, right? But did you watch 4, 5, and 6 before 1, 2, and 3?
Yes.
Yeah, I went in watching.
Yes.
Yeah, I went in watching 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, and then the moment the quality dropped from 3 to 4 really jarred me. I was just like, what's going on? Because I was
I
watching
took a
this.
break on the budget.
Like, yeah, no, and it's funny because like I'm like me and my mom go back and forth about the MCU and stuff now. And she starts to understand me and my geekdom.
Yeah.
So it's just like, cause she of course grew up on 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I don't even know if I want to watch the Star. And even she, as somebody that's 50, she's like, I don't even know if I really want to watch this anymore because the jarring contrast of 4, 5, and 6 to 1, 2, and 3, and then even going into the sequel trilogy of 7, 8, and 9 is such a jarring contrast between all three because it's all three, like 4, 5, and 6, my mother's generation. 1, 2, and 3, well, technically mine and your generation, and then 7, 8, and 9 is the millennials generation, and because they're now starting to watch it and everything of that nature. So it's just like you have not only have three jarring like visuals, but you have three jarring styles of how the Force works and how lightsaber duels happen. And it's just like 4, 5, and 6, simple sword stick styles. And it's just like, oh, we're gonna block and this, and then 1, 2, and 3. Flips and tricks and throwing lightsabers and this, that, and the third. And then you have 7, 8, and 9. I can stop a blaster bolt with the Force.
Yeah.
But then they kind of go backwards on lightsaber styles to where it's just like, oh, now it's sloppy and everything like that. So it's just like, in episodes 9 lightsaber fight, oh God.
I don't even know how to feel about the way lightsabers were used in like the sequel trilogy, because like George Lucas wanted to be a Jedi of what do you call it, samurai, and katanas don't get flung like baseball bats like the way they are in the sequel trilogy. They're like they're treating it like there's a lot of weight behind that lightsaber, even though in other mediums it's just like, yeah, the reason why people train so hard with a lightsaber is because of how light it is, which is why it's difficult to master, because you're not expecting, because you're looking at this huge lightsaber, like this 30-inch fucking thing or whatever the size of it is, and there's no weight to it besides the handle. And the fact that you're winging it like a baseball bat doesn't make sense, right? But
That's a fun fact that people don't realize is like the weight of a lightsaber. I was like, you don't feel the weight of the beam.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that. Because like the only thing we have is the props. So of course you feel the weight of the beam, the toys and stuff like that. But in the the universe of Star Wars, that's something that would probably blow a lot of people's minds. It's like they don't realize that like only thing you feel, even when it's activated, is just the hilt.
Yeah.
That's all you're feeling.
Yeah.
But dude, I really hate the sequel trilogy, especially like Kylo throws his lightsaber away, yet he knows that he has to go and fight some more people. But like, here, let me get rid of this because it's symbolizing that like I'm a good guy now. Cool, keep your freaking lightsaber and go go help Ren real quick. Then throw your lightsaber away at the end of the film. How like Rey pushed it into the sand, you weirdo.
It would have been good if, like, what do you call it? He just did what Ahsoka did, which was unbleed a lightsaber, and it would have just, like, if he just pulled up and, like, activated his lightsaber and we're expecting red, and all of a sudden it's white, because, he unbleeded it, that would have been cool, instead of just chucking it. But,
it would have been bad. It would have been badass watching him fight the Knights of Ren and watch it turn white.
Yeah.
Watching him take down these bad guys, it would have been dope to see a new way to cleanse the Kyber crystal. And instead, he was like, "Hey, Dad, I see you again. Thanks, Han Solo, for returning. Because it's clear Harrison Ford wants money. Now I'm gonna throw this into the water." Like, come on. Like, there's an edited thing where, like, he throws his lightsaber and General Grievous runs up behind him and jumps out into the water. Like, that was the best addition to episode 9 if Grievous would have made that real appearance.
You know what I think my favorite edited General Grievous appearance was when Rey dumps the lightsabers into the sand. It's Grievous's Force Ghost with a shovel.
Yeah.
But no, okay, let's lead it into the last topic, because I think we're running on about like an hour and a half at the moment. Yeah. So let's lead on to the last topic. So obviously we're part of the Versus community, so we had to do a Star Wars related versus match. So
Okay.
everyone ready? It's Mace Windu versus Darth Vader. How does everyone feel about it? Where does it lie?
Mace Windu takes it, man. He's got that fracture point.
Yeah,
Vader don't got that. Vader in his
Mace-
robotic form actually lost a lot of strength and a lot of his potential. And the Vader comics actually talk about that when he's out getting his kyber crystal, wiping everybody out. He's learning his new limits and powers within the confine of his suit. And we saw Mace Mace Windu fall out the window.
yeah.
We saw Mace Windu take on a Sith Lord who just wiped out 3 other Jedi Masters and was able to hold him back with the lightning. Like if Mace Windu would have kept going uninterrupted, he would have finished Palpatine. And I honestly think Mace Windu would take Vader out.
Magic, obviously.
Yeah,
Darth Vader
it's
is- yeah. Like obviously.
no,
Darth
no,
Vader's your
no.
top
Like
dog.
it's Mace Windu. I would give like depending on which Vader it is. If it's young Vader when he's first learning the suit, then it's low difficulty. Like Vader after he gets his mojo from Mustafar and things of that nature,
Mhm.
and especially when it's Vader. I want to say Vader post Malachor.
Yeah.
Like after the Ahsoka battle and everything, like that
Yeah.
Vader, it's still Mace, but it's high.
Yeah.
Because then Mace would have to use Vapod
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
beat him because, of course, the dark side channels it and uses back against him, which is how he was able to beat Palpatine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Obviously, we should talk about.
yeah.
Like we've talked about like the crazy shit that Vader has done, right? And obviously, other people that aren't informed with the other medias don't know what the fuck Mace is capable of, right? So we know he's mastered all 7 lightsaber forms. He's got, doesn't he? Or is it how many lightsaber forms is there? 8 or 7? I can't remember now.
No, it's 7.
Canonically,
and
there's 7.
It's 7. And he created a measure. Yeah, and he created a variation of 7, which is
Yeah.
with light.
Yeah.
Vapod, yeah.
Yeah, so he has Vapad, which is a unique fighting style, and he also has Shatterpoint, right? So Shatterpoint is
Yes.
obviously you can see the weakness in the Force around an enemy, right? And you can strike them points to make it. It's like basically, when you're fighting a boss in a game, you see the glowing dots to shoot to get critical damage, right? It's kind of like that. And then he has Vapad, right? Which is, I think the way they described it was channeling energy off your opponent, like dark side energy off your opponent to make a continuous loop. So it's basically
Yes.
you're not going to get tired because you're feeding off them, and if they're stronger, the more proficient Vapad is, which is why he was so successful in taking on Palpatine. So, like,
Mhm.
he's got all this shit going for him, right? But of course, we also have to look at the Vader shit that Vader's done, which is you had Grand Moff Tarkin prep against him, hire like the best of the best bounty hunters outside Boba Fett, and nearly kill Vader, like on the brink of killing him, like literally striking him down with lightning twice because it was like on like some area of the planet that lightning struck a bunch. And Vader, we know his weakness, the lightning, and he still survived. He still came out on top. So, what would you say to like that kind of stuff, where it's just like, yeah, Vader's went up against his weaknesses. He's went up against people who prepped against him and stuff, whilst Mace only has Vapad and Shatterpoint. Like, where do you got that?
But that's the thing though. I think even with Vader having all of that, I think Vapad is the reason why because Mace can handle Vader lightsaber battle. That's almost, I don't want to say it's almost a wash, but it's still in Mace's favor. What makes Mace win is the fact of Vader is going to have to use the dark side. When he uses the dark side, it's gonna be at his disadvantage, because unless Vader, which I don't think has ever been really explained, of him learning Vapod, like I know in Legends he knows all 7 and uses a variation, and the base is 5. But I don't know in the new Star Wars if it's ever explained that he knows all 7 and goes
No, he
from
doesn't.
there.
He only knows 1, 2, 5, and 6.
I think
Okay, so yeah,
That's what's been
he doesn't-
shown.
Then yeah, Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
then, if that's the case, then yeah, go from there.
yeah. So no matter where you think it lies, like no matter which version of Vader it is, if it's like where he's at his strongest in his suit, or when he's like Anakin and stuff, you still have like Mace winning. Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
like, and Anakin. um,
I think I
that's
think Anakin, if Anakin would have remained Vader without getting hurt on Mustafar and continue to grow with no robotic attachments to him or anything like that. So like let's say the events of Mustafar happens, he still loses, but he doesn't lose any limbs or anything. Let's just say Obi-Wan leaves, right? He's like, I'm done here. He's knocked him unconscious, whatever. You know, um, I think Anakin turning Darth Vader and, like I said, not being in his robotic confines and stuff like that, with age and time, could take down Mace Windu. But another thing that we have to factor in here is Mace Windu literally has watched Anakin grow up from being like 10 years old to where he's at now. So he's already gonna know what his fighting style looks like, who's trained him. Mace Windu's had a hand in training almost every Master and Jedi Knight there are during that time period. So, and especially since he's literally mastered all 7 styles, and he has the ability to loop his stamina with Vader's connection. I feel like an Anakin that is pure without the robotic enhancements would also master all of that as well, and it would just be a continuous loop. But I think Mace Windu with that shatter point will always take him out, because Mace Windu even says he channels the dark side to do that. And when he uses Shatter Point, it drops. Like, you drop. Like, this isn't a multiple barrage thing, getting that critical hit, instead of 70 damage to 150 damage, you're down. I don't think Anakin could ever take Mace.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like, because Anakin has the arm still, and
Yes.
it's just he has the robotic arm, and it's just like the first thing Mace is gonna do, boom, and there's your arm. Like Loki said, it's not I'm just gonna continue to get critical hits until you're down. It's here's your weakness, boom, I'm going after it immediately, and you are done.
Mhm.
So boom, there's his arm, and then through all the battles and everything that Anakin's had, it's okay. Well, now this is a point, and this is a point, and this is a point, and it's gonna like Shatter Point and Vapad is just that's a cheat code.
Yeah.
It's just like because you realize the only reason why Mace lost and died in Star Wars is because of a distraction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of battle, not because of somebody just happened to have. Because Palpatine, at his strongest, knowing all 7 forms, the strongest Sith that has ever come, was not able to beat Mace.
Yeah.
And clearly was shown to lose.
Yeah.
So there's nobody like if you can't like if you beat Palpatine, there's nobody that's stopping you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, and this is Palpatine jumping, spinning, using force. He killed 3 Jedi Masters in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
In 2 seconds, a jump spin, boom, there goes Kit Fisto, boom, there's the other 2. And it's just him and Mace. And him and Mace are going around the room, scanning the field and everything, both using Form 7. Palpatine's using the ultimate dark side. Mace Windu is using Vapad and Shatter Point and everything else. And they're going back and forth, and it's a tussle. And then the window shatters, and then Mace wins.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why he dies is because Anakin is a distraction. And when he used, and the thing is, I think he used Shatter Point. Or he used something where he was so focused on Palpatine, he didn't see Anakin, and Anakin cut him, and the rest is history. And then Mace is dead.
Yep.
Well, supposedly dead.
Yeah, supposedly dead.
There's no choice.
He's Finn's dad.
supposedly,
Stop. He's Finn's dad. Stop.
So, just to end off the podcast, what is everyone's favorite misconception or details that people may get wrong about Star Wars that you like? So, for my example, right, I think it's interesting to note that I don't think anyone using like basically anyone is taking down Obi-Wan, right? Because you have Mace Windu, right? That is using Vapad, but that's not going to work at all against Obi-Wan. And
Mm-mm.
Shatterpoint isn't going to work against Obi-Wan because they made it clear that he's the number one at Form 4. He was the only
Mhm.
one that could take out General Grievous.
3, actually.
Yeah, Form 3, sorry. Form 3. Yeah, he was the only one that was capable of taking out Grievous, because even when Mace went up against Grievous, Grievous was learning Vapad in the middle of it, which made Mace scared, because Grievous should be able to learn Vapad because he doesn't have the Force, but he was still being able to master some of the things that Mace had. But even with all this arsenal that Grievous had, got shot on by Obi-Wan, right? I think it's interesting to note
And
that,
no Form 3 user has ever lost.
yeah,
No master of Form 3 has ever lost.
yeah, and they made it clear that out of everyone, all the pinnacles of all the forms, Obi-Wan is the pinnacle, no issue at all, using Form 3, no weakness, no nothing. So I think it's just interesting to note how powerful Obi-Wan is, and how he easily took down Darth Maul, even though he used Form 1. I think he changed
4.
4. Did he change into? Yeah,
He used.
I thought it was Form 1 in Phantom Menace.
No, in
It was
Rebels.
in Phantom Menace. He used Qui-Gon style.
Yeah.
Because he didn't change to Form 3 until after Qui-Gon died, because he saw the weakness in Form 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in Rebels, he went from Form 3 to Form 4 after, Darth Maul got ready, and then, of course, he just changed. Clearly, if someone were to go up against Obi-Wan with Form 3, you can't use Shatterpoint against him, you can't use Vapad against him, you just need crazy shit to take him down, which I just thought was interesting. So what's your guys', favorite misconceptions or just things overall?
One of my favorite is that Darth Maul was the first person to ever use a double-bladed lightsaber. Maybe in the movies, yeah. We've seen it before. But no, I think I love everyone's hype over Darth Maul. Especially after Clone Wars and Rebels really finished off making him great. I always thought that it was hilarious that I remember going to the movie theaters and watching Phantom Menace, and then when he activates that second blade, I remember everybody in the theater was like, "What? Oh no, this is crazy!" And then me and my other fat nerd friends are like, "Do you remember in Legends when that one guy used the double bladed?" And I'm like, "Darth Bane?" Even Revan used one too. He said it was pointless. I hate this thing. And so I love that Maul gets the credit for being the first person ever to use a double bladed lightsaber.
Yeah.
That's just silliness.
I think, and then go off of Loki's point. It's just I think the biggest misconception is the fact of the other mediums versus the movies, and just it's like a total separation of, oh yeah, this is everybody that's just seen the movies, and then it's just bruh, have you seen this other stuff? What the movies is doing is nothing compared to the video games and the comics and everything like that. And I don't think people and I think the biggest person that falls under the victim of that is Vader.
Yeah.
Vader, Luke, Maul, Palpatine, pretty much all the main people in the movies fall under this thing of, oh man, they ain't really that strong. You do realize they finally gave Palpatine his due in Episode 9, where he pretty much nukes and he EMPs a whole bunch of ships in space. They finally give him his due there, but it's just in the video games and in the movies, even going back to the Legend stuff, it's just you don't realize these people, Naga Sadao, which is in Legends, made a supernova.
Yeah.
You don't realize that, and it's making a supernova has the possibility of destroying a solar system. So it's just like you don't realize how like, and that's another thing. The versus community has a very weird relationship with not only, of course, we're talking about Star Wars, but other mediums that don't like have a movie separation and then a video game, comic book separation. Then it's just like, oh, well, these people aren't that strong, and it's just like, no, if the Force is used properly, these characters are damn near planetary and beyond.
Yeah.
And I would actually, honestly, probably would say beyond planetary, because it's just like you have one is able to make supernova. Palpatine in Legends was able to make a force storm that was able to go over systems and teleport from here and there. And of course, you're on the planet with the Force, and it's just like, oh, you're able to do force speed and force jump, and you're able to create these barriers that are able to take on barrages of missiles, and most of the guns is using plasma or light, so they're going at pretty much the speed of light almost. And it's just like, and it's like these huge misconceptions about how fast these characters are, or their reaction times, or their strength. And it's just like the versus community has a problem with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now we can go into the fact of using the Force in other mediums like Star Wars versus Marvel or Star Wars versus DC, and you can say that the Force doesn't work there because, of course, it doesn't have the same thing. But when you're trying to say that, oh, these characters aren't that strong, it's just like, if everything is equal and the Force is able to be used in other mediums, then Star Wars is just as strong as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Per,
Palpatine would be
cosmic tier.
Avengers level threat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but Palpatine really would. I think Palpatine at full power could take down Null, because we know that Null's weakness is lightning. We see that with Absolute Carnage as well, lightning and Mystic Lightning. So Thor's hammer or electricity could take him. Palpatine, with his little lightning hands, I think he could take down the planet Clintar on his own. To be honest with you.
And it's just like Vader, and like, yeah, like, of course, we've seen in the versus community Vader versus Black Panther, things of that nature. No, he's not able to take on Black Panther, but like Vader would be an Avengers level threat. Like Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, like the telekinetics of Star Wars characters, because it's more than just telekinetic. It's using a cosmic power and bring that cosmic power through your body. So I'm not saying that these are cosmic level people, but they're taking from a cosmic power, because the Force is everywhere. There's no, except in like maybe a few couple regions, the Force is everywhere in the galaxy. And as Obi-Wan said, it flows through us, it's in us, and blah, 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 blah. So it's just like, if given the right circumstances, a Force user can do some pretty damaging things, especially taking to somebody like Palpatine or Vader or even Space Jesus. And it's just like, the misconception is, then of course we see in Mustafar with Vader surviving in lava with just a mechanical suit in the comics. Once again, surviving in molten lava in Mustafar, taking Tarkin, taking his biggest weakness, and Vader is still able to fuck Tarkin up. Or I forget the other dude name, the doctor that had a failsafe in Vader's suit and turned off his suit, and Vader through the Force
turn it back on,
stand up and turn it back on and choke the doctor. Like Dr. Aphra getting thrown in space and was still able to survive in space long enough to be able to get help. To get people
like
to
Princess
help her
Leia.
out. And it's just like, oh God.
That one.
We do not mention,
but like you're
Super Leia.
Wait, so
We do
you're-
not mention Superwoman Leia. We do not mention that scene.
But like you're absolutely right, because even like Grandmaster Luke in the Legends, like every book he was giving himself like 2 new abilities, and like by the time like his storyline ended, like he was nigh omnipotent. Like he could have just backhanded Palpatine, that would have been the end of it. Grandmaster Luke is just crazy.
It's Absoloth, who is a Absoloth, who is a cosmic, who has the power of the son, daughter, the father, and like some other cosmic craziness. And like you see Luke, like people were like, is there 30 people or is it just 2? the way how fast Luke was moving, and it's like you almost see like 30 lightsabers, but no, it's just Luke Skywalker going through everybody so fast that it looks like 30 people, and it's just like yeah, like the whole bit. Like my biggest thing about people's misconception of Star Wars is the versus community and how actually strong these Star Wars characters are, and how they would literally be if you were to compare them in Marvel or DC, Avengers to Justice League level threats. Because it's going to take more than one person, of course, bearing like Wonder Woman or Superman to take these people down. Like it's going to be pretty much like Doomsday versus Justice League International when Doomsday first got introduced. Yeah, like the only person that was able to handle Doomsday until Superman arrived was Maxima. Mm-hmm. Like other than that, Doomsday was just going through everybody, and it would be the same thing if Vader or if Palpatine were to throw through. He's taking everybody out until somebody stronger comes along and says, "Nah, you gotta stop." So yeah.
Sweet. So I think
unless you're Batman with prep time, then he could take out the entire Star Wars.
Oh God, no. Oh, this damn shit.
Gonna summon fucking Georgie in here? No, but this has been a good podcast. Next week's podcast after this goes up is going to be, funny enough, Black Panther versus Batman, or at least a video coming out about Black Panther versus Batman and explaining why it is a terrible fight and you should never do it. So look out for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want to catch the bat's hands, man. Come on.
But
oh my God, here we go.
Look out for that. I've been Admin 4 from Nerds of Combat, here with Admin Magic and Loki. Say goodbye, guys.
See you, everybody.